Hey, beautiful people. Welcome to episode 2 of the Unboxing Light podcast. I'm Trevor. I'll be your main host for today. I'm joined by my C mic.
What's good? It's Cameron. How dare you call yourself the main host, you glory-stealing son of a bitch.
And my D mic.
It's me, David. Yeah, I don't know about main host. You know, let's call all of us
come on, man.
main host.
All right. You know what? I had a little stage fright, so I had
The
to say
band's
something.
about to break out into a fight in episode 2.
That was the first thing that came to my mind. So
No.
I'm not here for the glory like track 11 on graduation. So
Okay.
Bars.
all right. So we have a great episode for you guys today. We're gonna talk about a few things. I'd also like to start a gimmick for the podcast, and I say gimmick because Cameron kind of shit on my idea, but
Okay, I called it a gimmick just as it's a tradition, is what it is.
Alright.
We're starting a tradition.
it's a tradition. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would like to read a quote and a positive poem every week. Cam, what are you gonna do this week?
I'm going to start a sort of a trivia facts series. Some are going to be fun, some might be less fun, but it's all going to be stuff that's like probably won't help you in any facet of your life, but just stuff that's kind of interesting to know, and you're like kind of like, oh wow, I never knew that, and so just kind of
Stuff
adding
that
a
you
little spice.
twist off the Snapple cap and fine.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Snapple facts. There you
Hope we
go.
don't
Hell
have
yeah.
to-
I'm gonna be just recommending a song every week. It's probably just what I'm listening to, or I don't know. Yeah, whatever I think people maybe haven't heard or just want to hear again. I don't
Cool. So you're stealing the sleeper idea. I see you.
know. Yeah, right. Yeah, well, yeah, that was the idea. Yeah.
Okay.
Dang.
So I'd like to start with
Alright.
my quote first to get us nice and filled with positivity. So my quote is actually on my IG page. Shameless plug, Sensible Skyline. So this quote, I think, is from Bruce Lee, and it says, "The key to immortality is first living a life worth remembering." And this quote kind of inspired me to
I like
start
that.
my IG page, like as cliche as it sounds, but it's like the sort of like the mission statement of my page. I like to encapsulate all the memories and all the days that I have with special people in my life that I want to remember and occasionally look through, and it ended up being basically me with concerts. So
Yeah. Yeah, no, I remember having that conversation with you where, I mean, like we talked about briefly, I think on episode 1, where you were like anti-social media, or maybe it was 0, I don't know. You were like kind of anti-social media, didn't have like anything for the longest time. And then you like realized that you could just use Instagram to like catalog your life. Like you were just like,
Yeah.
like these are pictures that
like
I want to
caveman
put.
looking into light,
Yeah, it was like, it's like scrapbooking for you, but on the internet.
basically.
It's not, you're not a big poser boy trying to look
No,
good
no,
for
no,
all your
I'm not a
friends.
fuckboy.
You're just like, yeah, you're just,
I don't even have too many. I don't even have too many pictures of myself on there. There's.
I think
most of it
anything
is-
that's you also has Rocio in it.
Yeah, or my friends.
Which is the same for me. Anything with me
I thi-
has just Sydney in it.
Yeah, has Sid. Yeah, I think I have
do.
one post in the very beginning, my first post of just me and my cat, and that was it.
Yeah, you gotta do some of it. I mean, my IG page is just dumb stuff I think is funny at the time mainly, and then like if I like, yeah, there's like 1 or 2 serious posts maybe.
Yeah.
But I like that. I like the idea of cataloging stuff on Instagram, like a photo album, as opposed to like, flexing, or I don't know.
Yeah. No, I didn't want it to be vapid and empty.
Yeah, like you get who you are by looking at it. That's cool.
True. That quote is by Bruce Lee. I don't know if I said
Yes.
that or not, but
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
So yeah, follow
Found a-
at Sensible Skyline on Instagram
hey.
for
Yeah.
inspiration and to follow this man's
Please-
beautiful life
don't
that
follow
he's
me.
living to the fullest at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I'd like to also read a poem that I found. It took me like 20 seconds to find it on Google. So this one is titled "Move Past This" by Catherine Pulsifer. When you are feeling down and all you can muster up is a frown, that is the time to stop and count your blessings until you drop. Focus on all of life's good, and you will find things work out as they should. Feeling sorry and just sitting around, it is the sure thing to bring you down. Take some action, make a move. It doesn't matter if others approve. Nothing lasts forever. You will move past this if you endeavor.
Hey,
Yeah,
we can all
I like
we can
that.
all live with that advice. That's good.
Yeah.
Just
I like it a
applicable
lot.
knowledge.
It's definitely, the first time you read it, I kind of saw it as kind of like simplistic, and you got this
Yeah.
like kind of easy rhyme scheme going. But I mean, the message doesn't need to be complicated, I guess. Where
no, that not at all.
towards the end there, what was that? Read that line again about if you still have it up, about like don't just sit around, like get up and do something.
Yep. Feeling sorry and just sitting around is the sure thing to bring you down. That is the fact of the year.
I mean, that is
especially with the quarantine going on.
That's the central tenet of like depression, right? Where you have this mental issue and you feel like nothing is possible because you have all these goals that are like unreachable. But if you get up and you do one thing, like you make your bed, you do whatever, then you can actually, then you're taking small steps. Yeah. So yeah, I like it. The first time you read it, I viewed it as kind of simplistic, but that is a good way to put that message, because it can be that simple. It can be simple as doing one thing.
Very true.
So yeah,
I woke up today and cleaned, and it felt good. So
yeah, just like even that small amount of productivity can go a long way.
Very true.
Definitely, man.
All right, would you like to hit us with your Snapple fact of the day?
Blow our minds with this fact, my guy.
I would like to. I was gonna share a somewhat darker one, which I will save for next episode. But since we were going all about the positivity with your quotes and poem, this week I went in a different direction. So this is actually this one's inspired by your rekindling of your love for the Harry Potter books, which
and reading in general, not just Harry Potter,
and just reading in general, yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, and you said you said you don't remember the films much, which I said is great for you because you get to enjoy the books in full. But my fact of the week here is Jamie Waylett, who is the actor who played Crabbe in the Harry Potter films, was arrested for looting a drugstore with a Molotov cocktail during the 2011 London riots and was sentenced to 2 years in prison.
Jesus.
So that's my less dark fact. So you can look forward to next week. He
lived the character though.
Yeah, right.
Malfoy's bodyguard.
Right? Yeah. So he was the
method.
Yeah, so I don't think anyone ever got the explanation as to why he got like completely replaced in later movies.
That's the reason why?
Yeah. So apparently that's the reason why, was because now he was either in prison at the time, like quite literally, or just like got cut from the role because of that kind of behavior. So yeah.
Yeah, that was in 2011, so that was about the time that Deathly Hallows came out ish, I would think.
I think a little bit earlier, yeah, and that's when they replaced him. So yeah.
Cool.
Nice. All right.
Shout out to you, baby.
Yeah. Well, keeping with upbeat things like Molotov cocktails and
exactly.
Inspirational poems.
Quotes and poems from Trevor. I want to do this is a pretty popular song on the internet, but I just want to throw it out there and people haven't heard it. Emotional Prism by Big Wave. It's like what is it? I'm gonna get messed up if I get the language wrong, but it's not a fully English language like EDM pop song.
Okay.
And it's basically, I just recommended it. It's like something you can just dance to, and it has tempo switches. So if you're more comfortable dancing at different tempos, it's like applies across the board. So it's just a bop and a half. Yeah.
Emotional Prism by who again?
Big Wave. Yeah, you should be able to find it. Yeah, it's on YouTube and everything.
I thought you were gonna say Big Wild. Big Wild's pretty great too in the EDM scene.
Oh, so, there you go.
That's cool. All right, well, that's our gimmick of the week.
Yeah, that's how we'll be starting off every episode now, I believe. So you can look forward to that each and every week. Trevor's positivity, my fucking randomness, and then David giving you something to bop your head to.
Hell yeah.
Okay.
All right, so we wanted to dive into Death Note, both the show and the movie today.
Do we want to
get into the Logic album? Say that again?
Do we want to get into the Logic album first?
Oh yeah, you're right. So Logic dropped. Let's just recap it a little bit. Logic, the rapper, he dropped his quote unquote retirement album last night. It's called No Pressure, and it is a sort of direct sequel, and it's sort of like how Marshall Mathers LP2 did LP1. It's a direct sequel to Under Pressure, which was his 2014 major label debut, I believe. That was the first album after his string of mixtapes that he had released, and it's fantastic. I think it's a great swan song for his career if he actually does stop rapping. I'd like to open up the floor with you guys. I know Cam and I listened to it on the mic last night. We were playing Call of Duty and just bopping to it and wanted to enjoy it with him. So how'd you feel about it, Cameron?
I liked it a lot. I definitely liked it a lot. I mean, it was. I mean, you're gonna go on and on, I'm sure, about No ID and his reunion with him, and how great the beats ended up being and all that. We feel differently about the rest of Logic's discography. So,
yeah.
So yeah, but
I've had a rough history being a
something
fan.
we can. Yeah, no, you definitely have. But something we can definitely agree on is that No Pressure is a really good album, and there were bits that were great. A lot of it was good, and then there were only a couple bits that dragged on or low spots. Yeah,
definitely a couple of low spots.
So yeah, that's why I'll
not
leave
a
that for now.
masterpiece by any means. But as the resident Logic hater, I'd like for David to speak.
Dang, he's the resident
David has
Logic
never
hater?
been a Logic fan, so
yeah,
we made him listen to it.
Damn.
I don't want to label myself as a hater of anybody. Like, all right, listen. So yeah, my brief history with Logic is like, Trevor would recommend him back in like, I don't know, I want to say almost before Under Pressure.
Yeah, so this was like 2015. I think we had just graduated high school, and I started going to Valencia, and I remember Under Pressure hitting like even more than it was. I don't know what it was about it, but it was just, it encapsulated that fall for me, like that fall atmosphere, that amazing production on there. There solid tracks on there, but there's one in particular that I stuck to and I kept repeating like every time I would walk to my class at Valencia, and it's called Buried Alive. And it's not the best starting point for Logic, but I loved it so much that I wanted to share with one of my only people that I can talk to music about. And he didn't really have the best best reception of it.
Yeah, I remember like you recommend. I feel like he had some internet hits, like what was it, like Bounce or something early on?
Yep.
Ballin', yeah, like
Bounce, Ballin', Numbers, which was the Paramore flip, Decode.
Yeah. I remember I listened to Buried Alive like in just the hallway at FSU, and I was where I went to college. Shout out. It was a good song. Like, I want to say I've listened to like Logic songs over the years. The only Logic album I've listened to before this in its entirety was Under Pressure, and that's because Trevor made me, him, and Jose on the way to Miami listen to it in the car.
That's a whole nother story, because we had you and I and Jose all got in a car and we drove to Miami. This was in 2017, so this is when I was still working at UPS.
Yeah.
And we piled in a car. The only reason why he went with Jose and I, because Jose and I are great Logic fans. Like, we love him. We love what he does. But the reason why David wanted to go so bad was because Joey Badass was on the bill.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
And I was super happy to see him too. He's a fucking phenomenal rapper.
I remember that now. I was trying to think like why I didn't see you guys then. With you guys now recounting this, I completely forgot that happened. But it was one of those so close yet so far away kind of things. Where did you guys just come down for the night and then you drove straight back up?
That's it. No, we actually stayed in a very. It was actually okay. Hotel.
Yeah. I think
it was almost like a motel, but it had a hotel vibe.
And my dorm could not have slept 3 people, so 4 people in total. So it was like either you guys come and sleep over and are terribly uncomfortable, or we just don't see each other, and that's what we ended up doing. I think I might have been busy too. I don't know. Might have been test time, something like that. I don't know. Anyway, continue. Sorry.
Probably. I mean, as it was, it was like Trevor and I sleeping in the same bed, and Jose on like the cot or whatever.
I love sleeping with Jose. Or fucking Jose. I love sleeping with David. I sleep with so many men that I get the names mixed up.
I was gonna say
that's a good problem to have.
This man too much of a player.
I'm kind of a thought.
Bit of a player, you know.
Bit of a player. But yeah, so we had that road trip, and I made them listen to Under Pressure again because it's one of my favorite albums.
And I want to say like
25.
Oh, okay. I enjoy Logic. Like, I don't think that's a bad album. I really enjoy like City of Stars and
that's on Tits.
Yeah, Gang Related is I think is a fantastic song. So
the Under Pressure song like itself is fantastic too. The first like 2.5 minutes he just absolutely slays, and that hook is so hard.
Yeah, true.
So
yeah,
but yeah, so that was your that was like your pseudo introduction to his discography.
Yeah, and people like, he's been putting out albums this whole decade, and there was a certain point around the Everybody album where people stopped wanting me to get into him so much and stopped hitting him so hard. Like, So, and then by the time of what was that last album?
The very last one, Confessions
yeah.
of a Dangerous Mind.
Yeah, by that time, by that time, I felt validated never listening to Logic. I was like, I kind of feel like this is what I've been thinking the whole time.
And
but
I don't
it was,
blame you, because that encapsulated everything that was wrong with his music persona at the time. It's the same recycled bars, the same subject matter. His flow is the exact same. You know he's gonna go into the "God damn, I'm at it again," you know, like shit like that. And he just didn't say anything for 3 years.
Yeah, there's a lot of filler. I felt. Go ahead.
I guess that's where we differentiate.
Yeah.
On how we feel about Logic is like, I think you listened to, you know, like Under Pressure and all that, you were into him early enough and you listened to it like into the ground. And then when you were hearing another album and you wanted something new and different, you were getting just the same thing. Whereas I was then coming late to the game and getting that same thing that you initially enjoyed, but for the first time.
I'd love to know, or I'd love to say that that's correct, but it's not, just because when I go back, I haven't even gone back to Everybody, just because I know it's awful. There's a point where there's one track where it's like 7.5 minutes long, and he just rants about his life and about all the shit that he's already said. And most of the songs on there don't feel like songs. They're kind of corny. It's like, it's what everybody feels about Macklemore, but with Logic. That's why him being biracial became such a huge meme, because he just kept repeating himself. Like he never strayed from that path. And even the production style was a little wonky. The songs just didn't feel like songs. They didn't push forward. If that makes any sense. Like, they were 4 and 5 minute chunks of maybe 2 minutes of rapping, and then it would just like kind of stray off the path. It was a little weird. But you like Bobby Tarantino too. I thought it was pretty mediocre.
I thought like basically none of the beats miss. I think a lot of the, I mean, you were talking about corny bars, but like I kind of eat that shit up sometimes, like when I'm just having fun. Like, we were listening to No Pressure last night, and you were like, I can't imagine, like I kind of want to be drunk to this album. Like, I think that'd be super fun. And that's like, that's kind of how Bobby Tarantino too works for me. Is like, it's just, you just kind of let it wash over you. Like, you enjoy the beats, you enjoy some of the bars, you enjoy the flow, and like what he's saying doesn't really fully matter.
Yeah, unfortunately, I just can't get on that train.
Yeah,
there's a certain point where I hear what they're saying. Yeah, there's a certain point where I hear what the rapper is saying, and I'm just like, I can't get on board with this.
Yeah.
But so to sum it up, everything after The Incredible True Story, besides Young Sinatra 4, in my eyes, was ass cheeks. Complete ass cheeks. Everybody sucked. Bobby Tarantino was okay. Bobby Tarantino 2 was just no. Everybody was no. And Confessions, we don't have to say anything about Confessions. It speaks for itself. Please go listen to that album so you understand why I went from being a Logic stan and checking for his tours whenever he would come to, maybe I'll give this a listen, and then just completely throwing up. So I had a lot of anticipation for No Pressure, just simply off the title, because Under Pressure is so raved in my eyes. I love that album to death. So getting that sense of it, and it delivered. We didn't even talk about how David felt about it, but I want you to talk about it before I do, because I'm just gonna talk about how good it is.
All right, yeah, okay. So yeah, my perspective as an outsider, I felt validated. Like, everyone's saying he is trash now, but I knew he had something from the early days. Like, I knew it wasn't entirely true. Like, I knew he never just had all filler in his early career. So
yeah, he had potential.
Yeah, and just listening to this album just today, I really liked it.
Hey.
Yeah, this is the most I've enjoyed Logic consistently, which I haven't listened to many other albums, but I get like sort of some of the samey stuff. Like, I feel like he had some filler in here, and
a little bit. I did catch a little bit.
Yeah, and he'll reiterate himself sometimes, and he'll do a little bit of the lyrical miracle stuff, which I always felt like he did. I mean, he directly says it, so he's sort of self-aware of it.
What's that? Can you explain that to me? Because I don't follow there.
Oh, so lyrical. So
are we getting
this?
Into
I think this originated with M, if I'm not mistaken, right, David? The whole like lyrical miracle something living in your swimming pool or some
I
stupid shit
think
like that.
I think M was making fun of it in like 2011 or 2010 when he did that. I'm not sure. I think he was sort of playing around because it describes it's this certain rhyme scheme that people would always do to try to impress people, and it basically when someone brings up there being a lyrical miracle right now, it's basically like they're rhyming a bunch of multisyllabic words and rapping really
Yes.
fast and saying absolutely nothing at all.
Yes. So
Okay.
like MF Doom, lyrical miracle.
No, hey, whoa, that's gonna be very
Lyrical miracle.
controversial for
That's
underground hip hop
dude,
fans.
fam. Even
That's-
like
I
some Earl
haven't listened.
Sweatshirt shit is lyrical
That's-
miracle.
I haven't listened to that, but I
Alright.
can't speak to that.
So now that
I
I
feel-
understand what that is, we can go back to David's take on the album.
Mm-hmm.
I guess so. So he's aware of that, and he did it just a little bit on here. But I like how there was just a lot of break beats with simple production, but it would layer in perfectly, and you had nice bass lines. And
Very lavish.
yeah, it felt like what I remember of just hearing good Logic, just people playing like old Logic stuff.
Yep.
And he had content to talk about. He had like, okay, I'm not that upset at the internet anymore like I was on the last album, but I'm gonna
Yep.
say like, you know, I'm a father now. Like that's a huge thing with this album. That's part of
And
why
he
he's
remarried
retiring.
recently.
Right, yeah. He has some things to talk about in his life, and he even has a whole song he goes in depth on. You know, I go to the grocery store and you know,
Yep.
fans want an autograph. That's what's going on in my life. I'm not young anymore. I'm not, you know, cooking drugs anymore.
I love that track too because it just illustrates that he has the capability to not only rap like sophisticated, but then like he kind of like answers himself where he asks, oh, you know, what do I do in my daily life? And then he literally just jumps into it, and it's not corny the way he does it in this track.
Yeah,
Where he just spells out that he goes to Target and he talks to fans, you know, just like you were saying.
yeah, he had a good sense of humor about it that I really appreciated. And then he would on some songs he would just bar you to death. He had bars about some of my favorite stuff on here, which is a big plus. He had bars about Cowboy Bebop,
Yep.
about Prime, about the Creed movies. He said something about knocking out the beats like Adonis or something. Adonis Creed, the main character. That's literally like he just happened to hit on some of my favorite things ever. So
Mhm.
I gave him big ups for that in my mind.
There was one bar that caught my ear last night where it was like he says something about, I think it's on Man I Is, which is my favorite track on that.
Mm.
But he says something of like, I can't wait for my sun to shine so together we can reign. That
Oh,
shit was
yeah.
hard.
Yeah, as soon as
Yeah.
that came up, you were like, Cameron, did you hear that? Did you hear
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, that was a good bar for sure.
Yeah. He had a lot of bars where you're going back and thinking about it, and you have to catch up with what he's saying, which is
Yeah.
awesome. I know like that track he had that was not on this album with like Juicy J and whoever and French Montana.
Twisted.
That club, it was the absolute antithesis of Twisted. I mean, that song has, I don't know. I'm not trying to clown on Logic
Twisted
or
up the
anything.
Jews. No, that song was the reason why Joe Budden said that he's the worst rapper in the world, which I completely agreed with at the time. I completely fucking agreed with.
Damn.
Yeah, but that's just to illustrate.
nothing
You
about
love to
that.
see him going from that to this. Like
Yep.
he's got bars that are hitting you. Friggin' I'm Spike Spiegel, but I'm known to be vicious or whatever. Let's go. Great references, great bars, and he has some content. And he has his hook game was on point. What was that like the second song?
Hit my
I got-
line.
It's gonna be like about to be a good day. Boy got a 9 and a glove, and he don't play.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had the hook game. Like, there's nothing that's bad to listen to on this, even if maybe you could say he's wasting some time.
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. Yeah, I'm gonna go back.
Oh, for sure. That production alone warrants it, and that's all thanks to No ID. No ID slayed that shit.
Oh yeah.
He did what 444 should have been with the mixing and just the
I think-
crispness of, dude. I love 44. I love 444 to death, but there's a couple aspects of that album. We're not gonna get too much into Jay-Z, but just that album's a little quiet. It doesn't hit as hard as it should.
Yeah,
But
he did.
those beats are great, and they're very dusty, very fall atmospheric. Like, that's why I wanted to be drunk to it, because that's like what I feel. I just wanted to like chill and throw my head back with a heavy head and vibe out to that.
Yeah, No ID was one thing that got me excited for this album. You know, it felt like he was gonna do a 444 thing where you
Yep.
just have this guy who's a legend come in and do most of your album, if not all of it, and have this cohesive thing. And Logic stressed that on this too. Like, I'm gonna be more mature. Like, this is grown man music or something like that.
Hmm.
And that's exactly what the whole idea behind 444 was. So it was cool that they had that parallel.
And that's why I enjoyed Under Pressure so much, and why No Pressure succeeds in that aspect is because No ID was involved in Under Pressure as well.
Mm.
So it almost like ties the knot in terms of my theory of him not trying for the last 6 years, and then getting back with a legendary producer and just ripping shit.
Yeah.
So I'm very pleased with that album, and I hope to keep spinning it.
Yeah, Cameron, how does this, like, you've liked pretty much his entire career up to this, right? How does this compare with the other stuff?
Yeah, well, something I just hit on, or Trevor just hit on again with him wanting to be drunk to it, was like that. I guess I listen to so much less music. I maybe listen to roughly a 25th of the music that Trevor does. So my bar is just like, based on volume, my bar is naturally much lower. I mean, I like, shit still stinks, obviously, right? But I mean,
Yeah.
But I can enjoy stuff just based off of how it sounds, or like a pretty low bar of like, I'm just chilling. Like, I'm not that worried about analytical or anything. But Trevor's mind is like attuned to that automatically. So that's kind of his blessing and curse, I think, and maybe you as well, David, where you like you can only enjoy that like upper echelon that much, but when you do, you're fucking in it.
Yeah, sometimes it's just kind of like that. I try to lower stuff nowadays and not be so critical.
Same.
Yeah.
And it's like you said, it is kind of a curse to overanalyze music and say, hey, this is trash out the gate just because of these certain aspects that don't tick on my box. So I've been a little bit more open-minded, and over the years I have been super broadening in my horizons of just like listening to pop or listening to metal or R&B, you know, instrumental shit. So I try to get a nice palette of it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
no one's ever too experienced in music to not like try new things and give it a fair shake. So
Very true.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, I don't know where I'd put this in terms of his tier list. I know I have Under Pressure at the top. It might be tied with The Incredible True Story. I love that album too, but in terms of his content, I think it does beat out Incredible True Story, because he starts to repeat himself a little bit on that album. But the beat selection on there is phenomenal, so that's why it's up there.
nice.
But yeah, thank you, Logic. I hope you have a great life. If you do decide to come back, please don't come back with that Confessions bullshit.
Jesus. Yeah, I mean, you gotta wish the boy all the best. He seems like the nicest guy in the world. Has a new son. That's great. He's gonna start like streaming on Twitch. Yeah.
Yep, he just signed a multi-million-dollar deal with Twitch to stream. Yeah, so he's not leaving the pop culture scene, but he's done rapping for the most part.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, did you have any more thoughts, Cameron? I feel like we went a little overboard on our end, but
no, I mean you definitely said like a lot of things that I was thinking, and then some, and then elaborated on it. So I mean, that's just how this is gonna go. You guys have that experience, and I'm learning. So I'm like, I love listening to you guys deep dive and stuff like that, and I end up picking up on a lot of stuff, and when I re-listen, I actually end up experiencing it better than I did the first time. So yeah, no, I mean, I'm good for the most part, I think.
Okay, so speaking of music, should we recommend the album for Cameron this week right now? What would you like to start him on?
Sure.
We can talk about
I'll get
that.
my notepad ready.
So he hasn't listened to a lot of the things that David and I haven't, especially when it comes to hip hop.
Especially like old school hip hop. Especially.
Yeah, so he's listened to College Dropout by Kanye. He's listened to Late Registration, Graduation, right? You got the Graduation?
Yeah.
You've heard Good Kid, Mad City. You haven't heard To Pimp a Butterfly.
I have not. No.
And you heard a couple Drake projects.
Yeah.
So, I would like to start him with To Pimp a Butterfly, just to
that works for me.
Show him the other side, because he's been wanting to listen to that album.
Yeah.
But he never got around to it.
Yeah.
And I think it's a fantastic album.
That's your favorite Kendrick project, right, David?
That's my second favorite, but
Second favorite.
there's a lot. I have a lot of thoughts of it. It's still one of
It's
my
tough.
favorite albums. I
It's
kind
tough,
of
and you'll see exactly why it's tough when you listen to it.
Yeah, I personally prefer Good Kid probably, but I think To Pimp a Butterfly might be the better album. I don't know. I just
It's
think
hard.
yeah, it's a good recommendation. Like it's such a cultural touchstone in
Yeah,
music
it
in
got
general.
inducted into the Library of Congress.
Right. It's a big project to sink your teeth into. I definitely recommend multiple listens and listening to it in
I
order.
figured
every
I'd just
couple
listen
times.
to it once and then come and tell you guys it's dog shit.
Go ahead, yeah, please.
Nah, I don't think. I think I was on my like 7th listen of Good Kid, Mad City, and still picking up new stuff. So.
Oh yeah, that album will entertain you for years to come.
So yeah, no, I mean, I got a week. I can probably listen to it like 15 times, at least.
Sounds good to
So.
me.
Okay.
I'll definitely I'll gladly listen to it again.
I think I'll do. I want this to be like very serious, like getting on, not getting on your guys' level because that's like I'm a white belt right now, so.
Okay.
But my plan for this, I guess, is to do just initial couple listens and then go song by song and like write down stuff that I really liked or noticed or something like that, like that.
Oh, yeah.
And then I can come prepared with like a full list of notes and stuff to talk about and stuff to ask you guys about the specifics.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Yeah, the goal here is just to get our friend to listen to more music because this has been a thing for the longest time. I've been wanting to just like recommend him albums, and of course things never get done because life is just the way it is. But
yeah, I mean with him
having a solid reason to go back and listen to albums, I think it would be pretty entertaining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've always had the reason. I just never like if I have free time, I won't just listen to an album. Whereas you, Trevor, like you can literally just lay on your bed and throw an album on, and that's your entertainment for the time. Like I can't do that. I'm too fidgety for that. Really, I can't just focus on that one thing. Like I'll usually, I mean, when I was re-listening to No Pressure this morning, I was like cooking and cleaning. So, I mean, for this specific manner in which I'm doing this whole part of it as part of the show and doing something meaningful and providing something to the listeners in terms of my experience listening to this thing that you guys already know and love so much. In order to have that be the case, I definitely can just listen to the album. But in general, I have a tough time doing that without there being underlying reason, and so
you got to do what's comfortable for you.
Yeah, I mean, so the very end of that point is that you guys recommend these albums that mean so much to you, and I want to listen to them, and I'll usually listen to it when I'm just playing some mindless video game or while I'm at work or something like that, or studying. But when I do all those things, I'm not paying full attention to the album, and I feel like I'd be doing it an injustice when you guys care about it so much and want to know what I think, and I'm like not giving it the full listen it deserves. So that's why this is like the perfect setup for me getting into these albums that you guys have been recommending for the last couple of years, that I now have like a productive outlet to be able to talk about them.
There you go. That's what we wanted. But
sounds good.
Like one recommendation would be just to maybe go on a walk, or I don't know if you have a bike, but maybe go on a bike ride.
I do. The fucking tires are dead. I gotta order a pump. But
going on a walk is very healthy for you, and it allows me to isolate myself and just think about music.
I definitely gotta wait until like sunset for that though, because God, it is hot down here. My lord.
Oh, suck it up. I've been a Floridian my entire life.
Yes, and I have not, so eat my ass.
And with that, we are done with our music. But
yeah, and speaking of getting into new things, that's part of the dynamic of this podcast. And our boy Trevor here is getting into the medium known as anime.
Yes.
And that's our next
topic.
The art form.
Yes, sir, the art form.
I briefly touched on this when I was talking about Persona 5 last week, but I had never watched anime. I mean, obviously, I've seen some animes, but it's like
Saturday morning
like
cartoons,
the more popular
DBZ, Pokemon.
Yeah, like the DBZs, the Pokemon, the Yu-Gi-Oh. Even Naruto. That's I grew up on Naruto. Even without watching the show, I played the video games, and my friends were super into it. And we played the Xbox games, the Storm games all the time. But I'm finally diving into it because of Persona. It changed my life, and it makes me want to appreciate the Japanese culture even more. And one of those huge things is anime. So I'm finally joining the community, and I started with Naruto.
He ordered his body pillow yesterday.
Hey.
He's got 5 $60 1/6 scale figurines of his waifus coming in the mail.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah.
Yes, those are all coming. But I started with Naruto in May, and it took me about 4-ish weeks, maybe 5 weeks to get through. It's a very long anime, and I didn't watch the fillers, so don't crucify me. But they're trash. Like, I'm just gonna say that. Those are trash.
I didn't watch
them,
but they're dog shit.
Hey,
I mean, I guess
fact.
I can't. It makes a lot of sense. I mean, there's
too many animes to sit through.
Yeah,
filler.
No, completely.
Yeah,
I completely agree.
And that's something you'll see shifting into if you watch super new stuff. There's like never filler anymore.
Yeah.
Which I am
all the
so entirely grateful for.
Yeah, all the seasonal animes are like 12 episodes or 24 episodes of straight action.
I'm so down.
Yeah,
and that's what the next anime that I watched was pretty much. There were no fillers, there were no breaks. It was straight to the fucking point. It is known as Death Note.
Yeah, baby.
Well, anime.
I don't know if you've ever heard of Death Note, but it's probably the most popular anime in terms of just that fucking, what is it, the My Anime List.
My Anime List, yeah, the followers.
Like 2 million and some change followers for that one show, and it's done. It was 14 years ago, and it's still, breaking numbers. So.
Yeah,
well,
it's been dubbed for the longest time too. It's been on Netflix for the longest time, so it's got a high level of accessibility to everyone, and it has that level of accessibility because it's so good.
Yeah, that's that, which is part of what we're gonna say. We're just gonna be talking about the plot. Like, if you haven't watched it, like you said, it's on Netflix and everything. We're gonna get into like spoilery stuff.
Yeah. Spoilers ahead, yes.
Yeah,
so if you do not want to know, we will. If you're watching this on YouTube, we'll throw up a timestamp, or we'll put it in the description. I'll put a timestamp in Spotify for the description as well, if you don't want to listen to it.
I might be able to, when I'm editing, go back and state the time you want to skip to. So I'll probably do that.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good.
But yeah, straight up, the our review of Death Note, no spoiler free, is that we all fucking love it, and now we will be doing
for sure.
And now we'll be doing only plot discussion and spoiler full discussion of this show. So and then the movie as well, but you really don't need to worry about spoilers for that. We'll get into that.
Yeah,
we'll get into that.
It'll actually be funnier if you know what happens in the movie before you watch it,
so
that you can actually pay attention for them.
Yeah.
All right, so this is the official marker. If you don't want to have Death Note spoiled for you, if you're just getting into anime like Trevor is and you haven't watched this gorgeous show yet, then this is the marker, and I will tell you.
Turn this podcast off and go watch it, please.
Skip ahead or
and then
turn
come
it
back
off
to it
and go watch the entirety of it, and then come back. Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's what you think.
All right, so let's get into it. So as promised, our discussions of the Death Note anime and the live-action movie made in 2017 by Netflix were full of spoilers for the anime, as even in our discussion of the film, we reference important plot points in the anime. So if you want to experience Death Note to its fullest extent, I would recommend that you don't listen to essentially the entire rest of this episode. If you'd like to hear our outro and a bit about what we're going to talk about next week, then you should skip to 1 hour, 22 minutes, and 30 seconds. But if not, I hope to see you back here once you've watched Death Note or in the next episode. Thanks.
Yep. So a brief overview of this show. So this centers around this guy, Light Yagami, and the Death Note is this notebook where if you write someone's name down, well, I'm not going to get into the rules too much, but basically if you write someone's name down with a face in your mind, as long as you know their full name, they will die in a certain time span. And this thing falls from the sky from a guy named Ryuk. He's a Shinigami, which is the god of death, or is a god of death. Mm-hmm. And they live in a separate realm from the humans. And this guy was just so bored that he just dropped his notebook into the human world and decided to see what would happen. And Light was in a Persona 5 classroom, and he just saw it falling, and he ran down to the courtyard, picked it up.
You mean a standard Japanese classroom?
I swear to God, it looked just like Persona 5, dude. Trippy the fuck
As
out.
you get more into anime, you'll realize like, oh, every single school is drawn the exact same. Basically.
That's exactly what Rostillo told me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't wait because I was freaking out. I think I had started the show with her, and we were just laying in bed, and I'm sitting here fucking squirming like, oh my God, that's the Persona 5 glass.
You're the Leonardo da Vinci, Leonardo DiCaprio meme where he's like pointing at the TV.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's it. I see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my
So
God.
he grabs this notebook that falls out of the sky, and he writes someone's name down, and it turns out to work. So he just keeps experimenting with it, and it's basically a thriller where he tries to become a god of the new world by relinquishing all of the evil that is in this world by his own.
He's got extreme narcissistic personality disorder.
Yeah, very.
Like egregious narcissist, where he's basically a sociopath.
Yeah.
I mean,
he is absolutely.
He cares about people, but in his own fucked up way. He cares about like his own sense of morality and justice, and literally nothing else.
Yeah.
And so, and he also has this part of his narcissism, and part of anyone's narcissism is believing you're the best and setting out to prove it beyond any reason of a doubt. And so that becomes his mission, especially when he starts getting investigated and all this stuff by the master detective, which I think I'm skipping a little bit, but where he
we don't have to like walk through the whole thing.
Yeah, but where he like, it's not that he just doesn't want to get caught. It's that he wants to be the guy. Like he wants to be unchallengingly God. So
so he has to extinguish everything that's in his path, including L, which is the master detective that's on the case to catch him. And they end up dubbing him the name Kira, which is killer in Japanese, I think. Right?
Yeah, it's because like the L syllable doesn't exist in Japanese. Basically, it's the L sound, so they say it like Kira. So. Yeah, so they write it as Kira.
Yeah, that's something great about this series. I started by reading the manga back in the day, and then I eventually finished. I watched the whole anime, years ago. I love how at the beginning you can. I mean, at least I was like sympathetic towards his cause, right? Like,
oh, for sure.
Yeah, like you see, which is
even at the end,
he's an anti-hero.
He like, which is something so different about the movie that we'll get into, but in the anime and the manga, the first two people he kills is like a violent hostage taker in like a standoff,
that's
and
his
then
first
a rapist. He frankly, and you see his kind of character at the beginning. He frantically is writing this, trying to save this woman, and then he realizes the Death Note is real, and he takes out these horrible criminals early on. But as you go on, it's his bar for who needs to die to create the perfect world gets lower and lower. Gets as low as Cameron's bar for music, apparently.
That's honestly the best simile you've ever said. I think that was dumb accurate. I think that was 100%. I don't think you can get better than that. You might as well retire right now.
All right.
All right. Welcome back to the Trevor and CB podcast. David had to retire because he peaked.
We're just called unboxing now.
We're just called unbox. Yeah, I don't know. Fucking anyway.
David was the light of our life.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh dang, that's a bar.
That's a bar.
All right, welcome back to the CB podcast. Both Trevor and David peak, so it's just me now.
It's so.
Oh, I get it. The light. No, I see you.
Light.
I get it, baby.
Wait, you didn't even mean to do that?
No, I didn't. I didn't pick up on it. I was slow, man.
All right, welcome back to the CB and Trevor podcast.
Trevor
didn't realize that he peaked.
That you dropped.
Hey, and I'm back. Trevor is accidentally the best rapper in the world. We're gonna find that out.
Facts. De Niro,
So,
baby.
Yeah.
Right, well, that's it. No, we're good.
Back on track. This is well,
I forget where does he draw his line, because it's been a while since I've seen the show. I remember like almost all the plot points. I watched the synopsis so we could talk about it in more detail, but I don't. It's not like he doesn't get as low as like shoplifting death, right? But I think the idea is that like he kills so many people for minor crimes that they come to a like almost halt.
Yeah. So I don't think there might be a defined point where he just says, fuck it, I'm just gonna kill as
Yeah.
many people as I can just to
I
make
mean,
sure that no one gets in my way. But
yeah, the immediate
I think that
strat,
just
right, is
naturally happens over the
he
show.
just kills like warlords, like mass murderers, like people, and he starts killing prison inmates too. Like he's like, why are we paying for these people to be alive? And so he just starts killing people that are already incarcerated for their crimes, and just like empties prisons just on his own fucked up death penalty. And so yeah,
these people all die with heart attacks. Like he has to specify the way that they die, otherwise they just die of a heart attack, and that sort of becomes his calling
heart attack
card.
is default, and then he uses that as his like signature. Where if it's a heart attack, if it's a random heart attack on a healthy individual, you know it was me.
Yeah, it was.
And that he never like makes any appearance to the public or anything. He just has these cults form around him that like say everything that he wants to be said, and he kind of controls it through his power.
Yeah, one of my like gripes, so to speak, when I first started watching it was just how quickly it accelerated from him being a high school student to him being a fucking tyrant.
That's what I did not expect at all. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a little oddly paced, but once he gets the Death Note and realizes he wants to be the god, that's the quota. That's his goal the entire time. He doesn't really falter from it.
Yeah.
And he becomes even more of an evil bastard, and it's so great to watch him.
Yeah, what I loved about it was a lot of shows would take this sort of concept and be like, okay, high school kid with a book that can kill anybody, he's just going to be like, I don't like my school bully, which is like something the fucking movie does. But he's like, I don't like my school bully. I'm going to kill him, and then I won't have to deal with him anymore. And then he just like, and then the guy horrifically dies, and then the notebook just sits in the corner of the room because he's like, I don't know what I've done.
Or he becomes a good guy and just like fights evil.
And like fights evil, but and doesn't have like this mega god complex. But Light ends up being such a perfect character to have this power. Because because he's so narcissistic, because he thinks of himself as above everyone to begin with.
So conniving.
Because he's mega intelligent, like top of his class, crushes everything academically, and just it's like it becomes that game of 4D chess where he's just like he loves the chase because he knows he's like so confident that at the end he will stand on top of that mountain
and
be the god.
Yeah, and that's what's so interesting to me. Like, same thing. They set it up so well. Like even like in the first chapter or the first episode, he's just bored of school because he always gets straight A's. At least in America, it would be straight A's. And he's great at he has crushes in high school. Like he's great at going on dates with girls.
Yeah, he's like socially popular as well.
He's an annoyingly competent guy at everything.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
So him getting the Death Note and having these grandiose goals to change the entire world, the interesting part is the only thing that can hinder him in any way is L when he steps in. And then that's why it's such a crazy dynamic and it's so high stakes, is his morality is really not going to get in the way, Light's. And he has this unlimited power now he's gotten from a literal god of death. So the only one standing in his way is just a regular human genius who's just as smart as him, but doesn't have the same power he does.
Yep, and he's just trying to play catch up the whole time.
Yeah, and one of the central hindrances too then is when the second Death Note gets dropped,
right?
Where his fangirl, who's like a pop star idol, like becomes a massive Kira fangirl, and she wants to meet him, and she gets her own Death Note from a set of circumstances where she's like this super beautiful girl, right, who's like a pop star in Japan, and she has a completely separate Shinigami falls in love with her, right, and then because she gets like mugged one night on the street and is gonna get like stabbed or something like that, and so the Shinigami with his omniscient powers like is always watching her, and so he writes in his own Death Note, the name of the mugger. And so that's like not allowed.
That's the only way they can die.
That's not allowed in the Shinigami realm, is because their rules as a god of death is you're only supposed to use your power to shorten human life. But in saving,
not to extend it.
But in saving the girl's life, he's added more life to the world than he has taken away, and so he just like crumbles to dust like fucking Thanos snap shit. So in doing so, he drops his death note, and another Shinigami, yet another one, picks it up and delivers it to the girl, because like that's what the Shinigami that loved her would have wanted. He would have wanted her to have it.
Yep.
And so she then has a death note. So she now has the power to kill people. And so she's now...
And she's this annoying ass chick.
Yeah,
like
she's like a mad
like
Kira
Sakura.
Grippy, super ditzy, like... Yeah.
She's like Sakura turned up to 11 in Naruto.
Yeah, it seems like she's written to be unstable and dangerous, but also easily manipulated, and that's
exactly
how
she tells him straight up, "Hey, use me as a tool.
Right?
Like I love you so much. You killed the parents, or you killed the people that killed my parents.
Yeah.
Please just let me do anything to help you. I want to be your girlfriend." And Light just like sees her as not only a nuisance but a tool, and a tool to be used until her usefulness is become a chore.
So she makes, in order to find him, she like sets the bait, I think, through killing people. I forget exactly how she gets him where she wants him to be able to figure it out. But she makes the Shinigami Eyes deal where you half your remaining lifespan in return for being able to see the name and remaining lifespan of every human around you. Except for anyone who holds a death note, you can't see their lifespan. So she baits him into wherever. She baits him into wherever, and then figures out that Light Yagami is Kira based on the fact that he has no lifespan above his head. So now she's like too perfect for him. Like she causes trouble initially, but she's too perfect for him to use as a tool. Where she has the eyes that he like. That's a superpower that he refused because he wanted to live his life out all the way and be the god for as long as possible. So now he has this power without having had to sacrifice anything for it.
Yep. But she is lovable. She is very lovable, to say the least. She's even though she is a nuisance and very annoying, I quite enjoyed her character.
Yeah, and it's great. I love about the show is it does a lot with, I don't want to say just a minimal amount, but it has a certain amount of rules to everything, and certain things
just enough,
just like every game does, right? Like that's how they wanted it to play out,
right? Yeah, so they play with those rules and those limited characters who you get to know really well, very quickly, and then everything that comes out of that is just so interesting. Like you forget about the death note if you don't have contact with it. So Light uses that in a game to beat L by legitimately, lying to him without knowing it. And then there's so many ways that like they establish the death note's rules early on, and then a few rules are added with the whoever comes in adds another fold, another complication to it. And it's like you can't really see it coming, but it all makes sense when it happens.
It's not exactly the most predictable story, just because I thought L was going to be alive the whole show, and he gets killed off in like episode 19, I think, or something like that, almost like halfway basically.
Yep.
And I was like, damn, man, where are they going to go with the show now? And then they get the Yotsuba group in, and they get another Kira, and the whole devious plan that Light conjured up just to get the death note back in the end. And it's fucked up, man. He is extremely intelligent, and it was like watching chess being played. There was a lot of times where the show had to explain what was happening just because it was happening so quick, and little details might escape your mind, and then you would be lost. Like if you hadn't watched the previous episode and you just skipped it for some reason, you'd have no idea where you were.
Yeah. Oh no.
Oh,
it
so much shit happens in every episode.
That's what we were talking about. There's no filler. It just keeps moving. It's all action. It's all the game. It's everything.
No breaks.
Like everything matters. Like you miss half an episode, you might be fucking completely lost. So
for sure. That episode where I just want to like highlight a few like high points.
Yeah, for sure.
Really. The part where he kills Ray Pember's fiance.
Yep.
I think her name was Naomi. Dude, that shit was sinister as fuck. So he basically he comes to know that she was an FBI agent before, and she's investigating his case, and she wants to take her case that she knows some detail that's gonna give away Light. So she wants to take it to the FBI to tell them, or not the FBI, the police, the Japanese police force, the task force is what they call them.
But she
and
uses
he
an
intercepts
alias,
her.
right?
Yeah, she uses an alias because she's so careful, and he, not having the Shinigami eyes, doesn't know if she's telling the truth or not. But he ends up like getting it out of her. He gets her to give her her ID, and he looks at it, and he pulls out the note out of his pocket, and he writes her name down, and then he taunts her.
Yep.
He
Yep.
taunts her after
His
he
hubris
writes
is
his
on
name
display throughout
Yeah.
the thing. Yeah, continue.
He's evil as fuck. He basically writes her name down after getting it out of her, even though she was super protective of it. She was just so desperate. I think he baits her in by saying, "Hey, I'll let you join the task force so you can help us catch Kira. I know, my dad is the chief of police or whatever." So she's like, "Okay, fine." And she hands the ID over. He writes her name down, and then all of a sudden you see all the color drain from her face because she realizes he's Kira. And actually, I don't even think she understands that. He wrote her down to go hang herself.
No, she does. She's like, because they're still conscious, but they have no control of their actions. So they just like, he's like, yeah, by the way, I'm Kira. Have fun with your fall off that building over there. And just like walks away. And it's like, and it's the same thing when he kills the FBI agent, Roy Pember, right? Is the FBI agent following him. And he's like as he's dying on the subway floor and Light is still in the car, he's like, yeah, it was me, bitch, with this like fat smile across his face as the subway door closes and he like gets away clean.
That's about the time where he fully transitions to being completely evil.
Yeah. Where he's
like you still root for him because it's so conniving and it's so devious, but you just want to see more of it. You want him to kill more people because it's so entertaining. It's like, damn, how is he going to kill the next person? How is he going to get out of this? How is he going to get out of that?
It somehow keeps on getting more complex. Like you're like, wow, he just played them like I have never seen anyone get played in their entire life. He ran that shit. And then it happens again in a more complex and more outrageous way in the next 2 episodes. And that just keeps on happening. It's like exponential to the point where you talked about where you lose your memories for the period of having the Death Note if you lose it for however much time. So they put together this whole plan where that was one of the most interesting dynamics of the entire show to me, is where Light is constantly under suspicion by everyone in the task force. They're like, he has access to police information. He lives in this area. Like Light meets he's definitely a high school student. Like Light meets every single one of the criteria, but it can't be him, right? But could it? Like that's the dance they're doing the entire time. Is because he plays it so well. Is because he avoids all not all suspicion, because
just enough
L refuses to let that point go. It's like he meets all the criteria. Like every bit of circumstance points to your son. Like as in him talking to the new head of the task force, which is Light's dad. It's like everything points to Light. We have to keep him in suspicion. We can't just let that go just because everyone thinks he's such a good guy, because we're seeing that this person is supremely intelligent and knows how to play everyone around them. So why would we think anything else of Light? But he does such a good job of like being like, it can't be me. It couldn't be me because of this, that, and the other thing. All these ploys and schemes he lays, and the way he kills people and the timing and all this. Where he's always under suspicion. He's always under the microscope, and he still pulls it off at almost every time.
By the skin of his teeth.
Yeah.
And like the maybe the earliest example of that is a scene that I don't know if you're aware, Trevor, has been memed kind of to death. At least a few years ago, it certainly was the potato chip scene.
Yep.
Oh, which one? There's a million of them.
At the beginning,
it's like
where
how aggressively he's
Yeah, he has the TV
and
in his bag.
And it shows him like writing viciously on the notebook while he's eating it. Yeah.
I take a chip and eat it. Yeah, there was people made memes out of that. But that's great. It's a great scene. It's so dramatically directed for such a small thing, but it's actually a big thing because he's completely fooling them, and they're video surveilling him.
Yep.
So it's like,
and
oh my god,
he puts a mini TV in his bag of chips, well, so he's able to keep track of the news while they're keeping him.
They got his room
under
fully
surveillance.
wired. Yeah.
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 While they're
And he's
keeping him
right,
under surveillance, he's still able to kill.
and
It's
people
nuts.
are dying from Kira when it looks like he's just doing his homework to them.
Yep.
So and stuff like that is just all throughout the show, and that's something people can learn from the writing of this show. Is you're talking about how Elle never drops him as a suspect. You have to have a protagonist and an antagonist, no matter what sides they're on, to be. If you're gonna make something like this, they have to be smart and do things that make sense, and not just go off something the audience doesn't understand and like, oh, that came out of left field. It's and it just stays with that. I will say, if we want to get into negatives a little bit, I feel like the show is not as good after Elle dies, because he's like the perfect.
I agree. I absolutely 100% agree. I couldn't get emotionally attached to any of the quote unquote antagonists or people pursuing him. I wouldn't call them antagonists because they're not, but
they try to bring
in the framing of the show. It's fair to say antagonists.
Yeah, because the show makes you care about Light so much.
For the classical definition of antagonist of like bad guy, then you can't really say. It's like playing fucking GTA. Like you're the protagonist and the police are the antagonists, when in real life that's obviously not what it is.
Yeah. So I think after that, like, try to bring in people. Like, the plot is pretty transparent at that point. It's like, oh, they went to the same orphanage Elle did, so they're like the same as him.
Yeah, and it was just like budget Elle.
Yeah, and it's two budget L's that don't even, like, they're not even two halves of the same whole. They don't add up to him. So
they're not nearly as charismatic or have the same funny ass mannerisms. Like, can we just talk about the foot shit that they just keep fucking like zooming in on his feet and just like constantly rubbing together? Homie never had shoes on. Elle never had shoes on.
I mean, he has all these like manic obsessions that, because he's so brilliant, always get fulfilled. So
he doesn't
like,
sleep.
all of his
he eats like a motherfucker. He's always eating sweets. He's always like towering them on each other, like trying to make some like house of cards out of fruit or any sort of sweet. Like it's almost like you watch it and your teeth hurt because of how many cavities that dude probably has, because he doesn't brush his teeth.
Basically.
Well, yeah. And so to bring in these two guys, like, one goes to the Yakuza, I believe, or the Mafia, and one goes
the Mafia.
One stays with the police force. It's just it's kind of lackluster. And Cameron, you're definitely right. It gets more and more complicated, and it's a good thing for the most part. I almost feel like after Elle, it gets a little convoluted. And
super. Especially when it time skips, because it goes from like 2007 to like 2012 in like a blink of an eye.
Oh yeah. What I really enjoyed is after he kills Elle, like we were talking about earlier, he doesn't have the thing to hold him back anymore. So you have that scene where he's actually become the god he set out to be. He's just killing people, and there's nothing to stop him. And you see his ego and everything being fulfilled. So it's almost weird to have these two randos come in and eventually stop him. It's like, okay.
I honestly would have preferred that. I don't know if I would prefer it if the show ended with Elle dying or not, and maybe just leaving it up as a cliffhanger, because I do love how the show ends. But
I do too.
I couldn't get attached to any of the villains, and it kind of took me out of it a little bit. I still watched it because I still enjoyed the character cast that was there, like, especially with the task force, like Matsuda and Mochi, the people that guard Misa. But I completely agree with you on that front.
Yeah, I think maybe the most interesting thing for me in the second half, I like the ending too. I think they direct it really well. It's pretty poetic, where you have Ryuk writing his name in the Death Note finally.
Yep.
It's like, dang, it's over.
And it's foreshadowed, because I think at the very beginning when he meets Ryuk, he's like, at a certain point, when this is over, I'm gonna have to write your name in it.
Yeah, I like the idea that all empires have to fall at some point.
Yeah.
I also like earlier on in the second half when his dad dies, and you realize that's something interesting. When you have a clearly villainous evil guy, but he has a certain line where he's still human, and he doesn't want his dad to die. I can't remember, you guys, or you saw it most recently, Trevor. Does he doesn't kill him, does he? It's just circumstances, or
he doesn't kill who?
His dad?
No. So his dad gets shot when they go to tackle Mello, which is one of the L budget L's. I keep saying L's, like, anyways. Um, yeah, so he in that infiltration, he blows up the house, and his dad, like before he blows up the house, Mello does. His dad offers him like peace and says, "Hey, you know, you can still come away from this. You don't have to do this. You don't have to be a part of the mafia. You still turn good." And homie in a corner of the house that they were in starts shooting the shit out of him, and he had armor on, but it definitely broke through. So he's on his deathbed, and actually, I'll just like, briefly go over that detail. His father did the deal for the Shinigami eyes so he could kill Mello, but never did. And while Light wasn't in possession of the Death Note, that was when he could see that he wasn't, right? He could see his name.
Yeah, so I think that's when he had lost possession, so he had lost his memory and all that. And so his lifespan was back above his head. Yeah. Which I said earlier, like that's how the girl like recognized him as being the holder of the Death Note. But then so then his lifespan is back, which his dad knows, like that's a sign that you're not Kira. And
yeah,
so
it's
he
very
dies
poetic
believing
how his dad dies.
He dies in his hospital at believing that his son was innocent all along.
He was under the impression that he was never Kira.
Yeah, it's amazing when they can make a purely emotional scene hit that hard in such a dark, complicated, like, you know, show where the main guy's not a good guy, and
it definitely makes you care for Light. And I wanted him to prevail at the end so fucking bad. It was like very convoluted, and I didn't get the whole like notebook. Yeah, I didn't like the whole notebook switch and then switch and then switch and then switch.
yeah.
It was a little hard to keep up with, but
it takes a fuckload of explaining.
Yeah, but it's basically it just comes out that they swapped notebooks. He didn't have the right notebook, and he was under the impression that he was going to kill everyone when they met up.
Light's assistant, right, is supposed to have the book, but it got fully swapped out.
Yeah, for a fake book, and he wrote their names, and the reason why they know it was Kira, or that Light was Kira, is because his assistant didn't write Light's name in the book, but he wrote everyone else's in the room, because that was supposed to be the defining point. If he killed everyone, then he was the god.
Yeah, and so he like they have that whole confrontation, and it's a really good climax to the show because it's his hubris finally beating him in the ass. Like it finally fucks him over. Where
he even taunts
exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Is he's like you can come out. I forget his assistant's name, but he's like, you can come out now. It's over. It's done. They're all gonna die now. Yes, I was Kira the entire time, and now I will watch as all of you perish in front of my eyes. And then like the time passes.
Like, stare at him.
They just like stare at him for 40 seconds, and he's like got his watch on, and he's like well, shit. And so he takes out the piece in his watch, and he like is like pricking his finger and trying to write it in blood, trying to write everyone's name, and then he gets shot and he stumbles away in the chaos. And then that's that final scene where it's a glorious ending, honestly, in my opinion.
It is it's definitely a nice twist.
Like it's like you finally fucked yourself over. Like you're because I think the way they set it up is like, if he just writes all the names and then they're all like, it's not me, like we gotta reconvene at another time, and then he just like I think there could have been a way for him to defuse the situation and walk away.
I think so too.
But he puts on this huge show of like, I've won, you lose, there's no one in my way, I can finally return to being the god I was always meant to be. And then it just
and he crumbles.
It's like tick 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 tick.
Those are the longest 40 seconds ever. I was telling Rocio that.
Yeah, it's an instant, like, he just loses his fucking mind. And he's like, you set me up, like, you did all this shit. You're framing me, like, this is ridiculous, like, you wanted this to happen. He just descends into utter madness, like, drop of the hat. And
he has no tricks left up his sleeve.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's the epitome of grasping at straws. He's just got nothing left.
I definitely enjoyed how it ended. But
like
we were saying, the villains were just a little lackluster after L dies, because L is so charismatic, and it took me a little bit to get used to him, but once you get used to him with the mannerisms and his personality and how he clashes with Light, he's so entertaining to watch. And when
Yep.
he gets killed off, it's just like, you know,
Yeah.
I don't really care about the Yotsuba or executives, and then the budget L's are just trash. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel you. I think it's the first half is, like I've said it before, is a perfect show to me, and then after that it's still pretty good, but
yeah, it
like,
definitely
alright.
falls from grace.
They also, what you're saying, the budget L characters, where like they try to make them weird, where like
Yeah,
the one
and
guy
they
plays
weren't.
with like the action figures or whatever, I think it is, and he's like playing with blocks
Yeah,
or something
he
like that.
Mello like eats a fucking a new chocolate bar every scene,
Yeah.
and
It's
the
like they
Nier
try to
character
redo it, but it ends up just being gimmicky instead of like
Yeah.
his actual personality. It's like, oh, like we must make the other orphans as weird as him, like as
and it just didn't
like
work.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a strange choice to have them take over,
But overall, show is fantastic.
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, the
you're
show
just
still
joining us-
carries, regardless
if
of
you're
that.
if you're just joining us from the no spoiler free, we're done. But
But we're gonna get into the Death Note movie now. But
oh god, yeah,
We can, yeah,
we
I
don't
think
have
we
to
can
go too much in depth.
run
I'd
through
like to
that.
just
We're
I'd
at
like
an
to
hour
just
12, so
okay.
Yeah,
I'd just
okay.
like to take a little time to say they completely just fuck up. I'm not gonna dive into this movie at all. I don't want to like give this any more shine than it needs. It fails on like every standard of a movie. Even if you don't watch Death Note as a show, it can't stand.
So let me look
I
this up real quick. I actually meant to look it up beforehand. Keep on going, David. I got something I want to.
Yeah, David, you go.
Okay. Yeah, so I took notes on it, and it ties into what you were saying. One of the last ones I wrote was bad as a movie, worse as an adaptation. I thought it was like a 3 out of 10 movie maybe, and like a 1 out of 10 adaptation. It's nothing. I mean,
not even close.
Like, you do not have to get 1-to-1. Like we were talking about the Harry Potter books and movies have different stuff. They're 1,000-page books or whatever.
For sure.
There's no central, like, the characters aren't smart. He's not some like genius killer.
Nope.
He's a kid who
idiot.
falls. Yeah, he's an idiot who freaks out all the time and falls for a girl. And there's no central.
Let me get to that real quick. He tells this chick like 10 minutes in the movie,
Instantly.
"Hey, I have a death
like,
note
"Hey,
that
pussy?"
can kill people. Hey, by the way, I kill people." When Light would never fucking tell them anything. Anyone, he would never tell, unless they needed to know. That was the deciding point. Besides the fact that I knew it was gonna be dog shit, but Willem Dafoe could not save that as Ryuk.
Yeah, I love Willem Dafoe, and I really like I love Lakeith Stanfield, who played L, and I think he was a fan of the manga and stuff, but
I did not like him at all.
I feel it was not his best performance. I feel like he was trying to be a cartoon sometimes and be serious sometimes. I think the script they gave him, he didn't have anything to work with. Like, it's just...
They tried to get him eating candy and shit and sitting the way he did in the manga and the anime, but it just came off so contrived and forced.
It's the most surface level stuff to take.
It's so... And they end up trying to redeem it with the whole final scene where... He has his big brain moment where he engineered all this stuff where like the one guy gets the book out of the bay and delivers it to him later on, so he maintains his innocence while freeing himself of everything, and it's like a 10-minute scene of explaining like how much of a genius this kid is after he just runs around like a dickhead the entire movie. And one of the things I wrote down, I took notes too. One of the things I wrote down was like, girl smiles at him, tells her he has god power. Like, it's like
basically though, because that's exactly how they meet, and they just like start fucking the same night. And I'm just like, what is happening?
And she's like,
they're in high school.
A completely nonsensical character as well. She's like the I don't give a fuck, but she's like the center of the pyramid as the cheerleader. Where like, I mean, just all the characters contradict themselves. They're dumb as fuck. And I really tried. So I remember watching the movie it came out right after I had finished watching Death Note for the first time, and so I was like, well, this is gonna suck ass, but I'm gonna struggle all the way to the end just to see what happens. And so I watched it and I absolutely fucking hated it. Like, I was like, I feel the same way Trevor probably did, where like he couldn't even probably view it as a movie by itself because you were looking at it as an adaptation. You were looking for the one-to-ones because it was so fresh in your memory that like every single time they fuck something up, it just like sets off an alarm bell, and it happens so much where it's just like a constant ringing. So it's like I went back now and tried to rewatch it as just a movie. I wanted to just be like, if Death Note didn't exist as an anime, if this was the first time that anyone had worked with this concept, would it be a good movie? And the answer is still no. It is still just fucking terrible and shouldn't have been done. And it was a mindless cash grab. Netflix is got me fucked up on that one, and I'm really I mean, like they didn't even you're right. 3 out of 10 movie, 1 out of 10 adaptation, or less. If you can give it less than a 1 out of 10, because it's like, I mean, as an adaptation, I mean, I've already said all this. I'm just getting too fired up. But like, they just ruin every character. I think Watari is like the only character that's worth a damn in the entire movie, and he's fucking Elle's butler. And it's like,
it's good that we.
I just disconnected like the past like 2 minutes, so.
I think.
Okay. So we'll probably cut this a little bit, but Cam went off, so we can still leave that in. And then I don't know. Okay, but
so 0 out of 10, not worth your time. Don't watch the Death Note movie. Death Note,
watch it just for comic relief. Like, if you have some time to burn and you're a fan of Death Note, watch the movie just to have a laugh, because
I mean,
that's all you're gonna get out of it. There's no redeeming qualities about the movie. I even tried to stop like drawing parallels between the movie and the anime, because I just realized it's not gonna happen. They made Elle black. The Watari isn't even
That's
old.
your first problem?
No, not at all.
I'm kidding.
It's funny because they make everyone else white. It's like, I mean, they based it in America, so it's just different off the bat.
Yeah, it's not even in Japan.
He's
it's
Light
like,
Turner.
what? Did you just like completely? You just shit on the anime. Like,
you
might as well have not called this Death Note. They didn't even use the Death Note. They like killed like 12 people, like the whole movie, and that was it. And then it was some teen drama.
It's just a montage. It's just a montage of
teen
like
drama.
The whole like 5 years thing of him becoming a god happens in like a 12-second montage where like now he's got cults around the world, and now he's like a hero of the people, and everyone worships Kira. They do that whole thing in like less than 2 minutes.
Yeah, and they basically use it for a cheap resolution where Elle, which he would never do in the anime, is like chasing him down with some like Blade Runner future revolver through the streets, which for some reason they have that, and then he's like has him caught, and then a follower of Kira just knocks him on the head, and it's like, all right. So I mean, there's no smart thing where you're like, I see what he's doing, and I mean, it's good that we talked about the anime, because it doesn't even start right. Like I brought up the first people he kills because you can get on his side initially, and it makes the whole transition into pure evil that much more interesting. The first person he kills in this
was a fucking student that just is a bully.
It's just a bully.
It's just a random bully. Yeah.
And Ryuk is like more neutral and just having a good time in the anime. In this, he's like, "Do it, fricker! It's your
Ryuk never fucking encourages Light to kill. It's just like, hey, you want to do it, go ahead.
Ryuk is fully a passenger in the anime, and in this, he's just like, I'm gonna fucking egg him on. I'm gonna make him fucking kill people. We're gonna fucking have some fun here. Like, do it. Like poking him with a stick. Like, do it. Write the name down. You gotta give him a reason too. Make sure his head gets taken clean off. Make sure we see that on screen, because that's adding value to the movie. That's absolute dog shit. Is that you get to see his head get blown into a million fucking pieces. It's like, no, none of that makes anything better. It makes it far worse. So it was
Rocio pointed that out. She was like, oh, the one thing that you will notice is that the death animations are just absolutely exaggerated to all
They're
hell.
egregious for no reason.
He gets hit with the first guy he kills gets hit with a ladder that's going maybe 15 miles an hour, and his head just pops like a fucking balloon.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, what that would definitely break his neck. Let's not get that wrong, but it would not fucking pop and decapitate him.
I don't even care for the realism of it. Like, regardless, I don't know.
It's just they were just trying to show how shitty it is.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I wrote down like Final Destination ? Because they just keep doing that. Like, that's where they get the entertainment value, because they can't have any of the smart writing apparently. So a guy gets hit with a truck and he like falls into 18 pieces. Like, okay, bro, enough. I'm good. Like,
I'm good.
It's
Oh yeah,
so,
like the
eating.
hostage taker guy. Yeah, he
Yeah.
just gets. I was eating. that's
Yeah,
dumb
no.
true. Yeah, he just like it's like steps into traffic. Like all you have to do is like cut away as the van comes across, right? And it's perfectly tasteful and fine. But then it's like
He shows him popping like a water
it just
balloon.
shows him getting eviscerated, like abs, like covering the streets. Like I think the decapitation scene, the first one, like the fucking students around him get like covered in blood and all this shit too. It's like
It's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
it's unnecessary gore for gore's sake in a movie that is just
doesn't need gore.
it doesn't no, not at all.
Yeah.
The Death Note like show doesn't have horrific deaths. They're all just heart attacks. They don't fucking get strangled and like
Yeah,
their
like
head pops off
subtlety-
like it's a Saw movie.
Subtlety is Kira's like weapon, where
Yeah.
like that's how that works. But it, I mean, man, it's
Yeah, 0 out of 10. Never watch
yeah.
again.
And I also
Yeah.
Transition.
yeah.
Dang. Yeah.
I
The only
can-
part I enjoyed was the chase scene because there was bumping like EDM track, but it was cool.
I didn't enjoy it in the slightest.
I mean, it was just
glad when it was over.
It was just a fucking like they do the whole thing with the Ferris wheel and all that is like obviously massive CGI and like all this stuff, and it's like such a waste of money for such an underwhelming kind of a movie.
Yep.
It's just
Yeah.
and of all the deaths, like when the girl finally fucking dies, she just falls into a bed of flowers.
Yeah.
and the flowers
Like she was
pop
an
up,
angel.
and it's gorgeous.
Yeah. The fact that he writes everything at the end. I mean, we don't need to go breaks every original rule of the Death Note. Like he can just
Mhm.
control how paper flies when she drops and stuff.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
like it
bro,
has to
I
be
was-
physically possible. Yeah.
I was screaming my head off when that happened, and they try to explain it, and I'm like, it's not better, dude. Like,
Yeah, like that's
Yeah.
his big brain moment. Is that she rips
Yeah.
out the page and it falls in a fire? Like that's
yeah.
Mm.
So
and her descendance
So
into like psychopathy is
it's
like
immediate.
way too quick and way. She's like, I don't care. I can't be bothered with cheerleading, even though I'm like head cheerleader or something. Haha. And then she's just like, I want to kill everybody. The world will be mine. Like instantly.
Yeah.
And it's like just because you got dick a couple times, like really, this is what we're working
Yeah.
with.
And she pushes.
And she wants to
killing-
kill his dad.
His
Yeah,
dad,
like
and then they
instantly.
She
wake
wants
up.
to kill his
instantly.
dad.
Oh my god! Like, oh, I'm mad at you, and then like, I love you. Oh, frick, you're cool. And then she betrays him anyway. He's Light's always getting played, and then the characters who are playing him are just crazy, and he's just dumb, and he has no agency. That
Yep.
sucks.
0 out of 10. Would never watch again.
So yeah,
No.
watch the anime, read the manga, don't watch the movie.
Yep.
All
So
right.
I think that about does it for today.
Yeah,
I'd
for
love
sure.
to get into One Punch Man, but I think we'll save that for next week's episode.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, we want to get into more anime and everything. Like we've been saying, we'll introduce each other to things, and hopefully it's things you guys are familiar with, or if you're not, you can get some recommendations from us. And
Yes, sir. That's definitely the driving dynamic of this podcast, and that's the
Yeah.
reason for our namesake. We're gonna say it multiple times, just that we want to unbox as many things as possible, and like broaden our horizons, and share with the people that are close to us.
Be
That's
true
like-
Renaissance men.
Yeah, that's half the value of entertainment to me, is being able to share it with someone that that you love and want to actually talk about it with.
well said. Yeah.
For sure.
So
All right, guys. Well, thanks
thank
for
you for listening.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this is
And-
where you're gonna hear that banging outro from DJ David.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
Hey, Vision.
and
With
so
our
next
thoughts
week,
on Cameron's thoughts on Tabimpa Butterfly, and
We'll hit you with
Oh,
another
that's right.
positive poem, and we'll get started next week.
for sure. Let's do it. All right. Adios.
Tune in.
later.
Peace out, baby.